The Renekton also left up, and Perfect has had some really good performances on this pick, so they're going to prioritize that higher, but this means Owner now gets his pick of the litter, and Faker could, of course, wait and see what BDD is going to be playing. Could look for counter pick. If he wants to get the Azir, maybe now's the time.
I've got like Monte Cristo in the back of my head right now, Wolf, saying like, why are they first picking Renekton? And I love that it's KT ROLSTER as well. Hope you're doing okay there, Monty. Okay, let's see what the answer is going to be.
It's the
Shuriman theme, and I like this so much. The fact that Faker can go back to one of his all-time comfort picks and deny it from BDD at the same time is brilliant.
And this is T1 leaning into that narrative we've had over the last 2 weeks of play what works for you, play what you're good at, play your style. And with the Corki ban, this one becomes pretty self-explanatory. Now the cannon to come through here, a ranged pick here into the Renekton, can keep him at arm's length. The Vi Talia. As soon as the Azir was locked in, you and I both knew that's the exact angle we'd be seeing with KT. So much single target here with the Renekton. You've got the Vi set up with the Talia shoves. And yes, the cannon is great for team fights, so is the Azir. But this is kind of KT's bread and butter here. And if we see any mistakes, any errors from T1, it's so easy to punish.
We need Lee Sin. That's what we need. I need Owner's Lee Sin. I need it locked in right now. That's not it. That's Poppy. Well, I mean, it's still pretty valuable, but I just felt like it was the time, Wolf. It was the time. We needed Owner's Lee Sin.
Well, it's going to be Owner's Poppy, and he's pretty good at that pick as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
he's still good at that.
He has been incredible with his early... As the Alistar will get banned. The Misfortune was the other option I was thinking about, is they took the Alistar away from Keria, but this does allow Guma to just kind of slide in with a very strong laning pick that has insane follow-up to the Cannon ultimate, to the Azir ultimate, and...
I'm
not learning the lesson. I don't know if we're learning the lesson.
It does mean you can dodge the Poppy ult, yeah.
And the first part of the cannon ult, but then the rest of it still gets you.
And then you come down again and then you get swept into the enemy team.
If Guma plays Xayah here, he avoids the shove or the Vi, and then he backs up, and then there's no follow-up, right? And that's why I was like, oh, it's kind of okay in this situation. It does not feel as okay on the KT side, but the Feathers can be a good follow-up, and if you're the one who's constantly setting up the engages with the Vi, Talia, with the Renekton engage, and you're ahead, it doesn't matter. It still works. You know, you're going to close that gap. The low range isn't going to be an issue. There's so much insane keep away and turn here in T1's composition. They've got the strong early game Poppy here, the Cannon ultimate, the Azir ultimate, the Misfortune follow-up, and the ability for Rel to just come back in and say, oh, you almost picked someone, or you did pick someone, but you used everything for it, and we win the 4v5 because we have so much setup and so much lockdown. That's my biggest concern here. I like the start of the draft for KT, but I think at the end, I definitely have to lean T1.
Yeah, and I think that I'm feeling a little bit of whiplash, right, from the Bro series, where the Xayah was picked and it just wasn't the angle. This time I think it's less egregious, only because T1-tastic. Let's dive under the rift for game number 1 of the Telecom War. Oh, it is a full house here at LoL Park for the Telecom War. And already we have vision turned off, and Keria is going to have to flash very early on. Well, you can see he looks like he's calmly walking away. I would have had a small heart attack.
At least he reacts very quickly there. Will lose his flash, so definitely a net negative, as that will really weaken.
Nope. Hex Flash activation before 1 minute. That is Keria absolutely
He already used it. He used it to go over the wall. Look at him. Got the value.
See? And then crashes back over again. Look at that ward. Gorgeous.
Hex Flash. He would have never flashed that wall with regular Flash, but with Hex Flash, it's like, oh, totally worth.
I know, and it feels like you're allowed to do it, you know? Feels like a party foul. I do it every game. You know, I flash out a fountain to get to that Pixel Brush a little bit earlier, as Beryl is going to walk over some vision. Gumyushi lying in wait here. We'll have Keria coming down to join him pretty early. Might be just a little tussle, as we're going to just do the same thing. It's a bit of a do-si-do.
But the winner of this is Zeus, who's pulling the Renekton, you know, pushing the wave in, is okay, here we go.
Yeah, Joshik fighting against Owner here, who does manage to steal this one away. There's a lightning rush over. The stun comes out immediately, though, from Perfect. And Joshik going to get smashed into the ground. The flash out from Owner as well, as now Zeus is in an extraordinarily uncomfortable position. Seismic Shove is going to miss, and oh my goodness, is it going to work? The turret! Oh, he was almost out of there.
Almost out of there, but it is going to be a 1-for-1 in the end. But he is losing more and more farm, is completely zoned off. You've got to make this work, Pyosik. 3-6 is going to be tough.
Yep, Slicing Maelstrom is going to be used on the minion wave, and now Perfect just trying to get towards it, wants to get the mana as wants to get the experience. As Ona was tanking this one up, we've got dives everywhere though, as Beryl goes in and straight up whiffs. That's going to be the crash down from Carrier to try and buy some space, and Gumayusi should be falling here somehow. It almost worked, but it is going to be the 1 for 2, and T1 just kind of winning everywhere.
Yeah, this is a disaster for KT ROLSTER. Pyosik felt so hard forced when he saw Owner topside there to make this dive happen. It's just so difficult to do. The crash down from Carrier was so well played, and if you're trying to, as the...
Right now, there's a Magnustorm and a Bullet Time, and Featherstorm does need to be used. In comes Ona though, as that's Beryl almost surviving. Deft also being able to get a fair bit of damage back, as now BDD throws down the wall. Carrier going to knock him off. That's going to be so much damage onto this Talia, and Seismic Shove is going to miss. BDD has to flash to get out after being the one theoretically engaging.
Unfortunately, you're tripling down now, KT, on trying to stem the bleeding in this bottom lane, and BDD uses his flash, will lose plate gold in mid to Faker as well. This does so much damage. Carry is set up for this. It's the easiest combo in the book. Meanwhile,
yep, Seismic Shove is going to be utilized here. The Renekton-Talia combination, some Shuriman friends are going to be able to take down the little Pikachu guy, as T1 now looking to try and answer, but Beryl pretty slippery. Does have Blast Cone at the ready, and Faker still just taking plates and securing more money for the team. But that is actually a good little bit of ground made by KT, with a bit of a gank onto Zeus, who is really starting to get out of control. He's still 30 CS ahead.
Yeah, he does have teleport as well. Right now, Perfect is proxying, but a more present issue is what's happening down here in the bottom lane. He is going to commit the teleport. This will be seen by the wave, and Perfect still has his, but they're not going to be able to contest the dragon. He will not be teleporting to the opposite side of the map here post 10 minutes. Back to the top lane instead.
Well, Pyosik really wants to kill Gumayusi, and he is just going to press the button and go for it. The quickness is down as well. Gumayusi is extraordinarily dead. That kill is going to go over to Deft at the same time, and so KT, we mentioned making some ground. This is going to be building upon it.
Oh, absolutely. A win topside, a plate goes over to Perfect. Yes, he's super low eco to where he'd want to be in most matchups. It's tough into the cannon, but he's 40 CS behind. But he picks up a plate, make it done, or make it happen with the roam, and then Pyosik here plays the long con, sets up the ultimate. Nothing Guma can do.
Yep, no response, as we have more grubs going over to T1. It's going to be Ona securing, I believe, all 6 of them. Pyosik not interested in fighting for these. I don't even remember where Ona managed to take the last ones, but I think it must have been when some of the shenanigans was going on. So that is going to be T1 with a big advantage as far as getting this push happening around the map, and they already have so much lane control. It's going to mean that if BDD does... Oh, never mind. Speaking of BDD, they do get the shove onto Beryl underneath the turret with the Emperor's Divide. Nicely done there from Faker. Still has to put that ulti on
for T1 because... Okay, we'll see something before that.
Yep, Perfect is just going to pre-dominance and try and keep himself alive, and it ain't going to work at all. Zeus presses his R button and just zaps him down. As Leandri's doing some work here, and this item advantage is just gigantic. See the bottom lane sort of moving back in, but this just leaves Perfect up and available once again. No dominance this time. Heroic Charge going to come forward. I've seen this movie before. This time it's going to have a different ending, as plates just fell down.
Almost got all.
Be able to get those.
Yeah, should still be able to get the turret here before Deft does.
Yeah.
And that is going to be first turret going over to the Kennen, who was able to get a ton of plate gold, 375 plus the kills. He is just so large on that Thunderbolt Pikachu, you know, the namesake of this player, why he always does the Z for Zeus, but also for Kennen. In the Thunderbolt, you know, shape that he makes it in. You guys know what I'm talking about. I didn't explain the AFC, but I'm like trying to. I don't want to say this game is
right, because he has to press the button and then run at you.
Yeah.
It's about whether Beryl can actually get these exhausts in the right times in these team fights. And it's all just going to hinge on that. And even then, I think maybe he's just too strong, you know? As Beryl's moving on over, just being a little bit frustrating here, as this Cloud Drake is going to be secured. It's an ocean.
You know, when you go... Okay, Owner, should be fine.
Yeah, because we haven't seen any sort of 5v5, any sort of setup I really am intrigued as to whether or not, you know, KT can make it work, as I've seen this on the top side of the map. It's going to happen once again as there's the flash forward from Perfect. He avoids the Emperor's Divide, and then Pyosik just goes through it. Vault Breaker comes down, but it's not going to be enough. Carrier is going to pay for his sins, but he flashes out of the way. Bullet time to celebrate. And T1 are going to survive.
Sure, Guma's ult didn't get a ton of value in terms of damage, but it helped make sure that KT couldn't follow up further. And they're going to get a turret for this as well, it looks like.
Yeah, all 5 of them are over here. Seismic Shove goes wide. Perfect soaking as much of this as possible, but this is a foregone conclusion. Turret is going to go down, and T1 just slink away into the fog of war.
And you've mentioned Hanwha Life kind of be, I don't want to say exclusively, but the most successful Poppy utilizers this season. And just putting that early pressure in the top lane to great use, and then just having so much pressure that you can take those risks, that you can kind of play a little bit fast and loose and still get away with it. Does feel very T1, the T1 that ended up being our finalists so many times in a row.
Control, not the greatest of dragons, but certainly one that they can leverage. And we've got a Renekton on a flank, or a handbag on a flank. We're not entirely sure. He's not in the greatest of spots right now as BDD moving forward.
Faker got a stopwatch too on this back, so he's got so much survivability here. And
ooh, Ona able to collect this. I believe that was actually the Q. I think it was an early smite and then actually secured it with the Q in the end.
Yeah.
Still, whatever works.
It's so hard to get in on this comp now with Ona just frontlining.
Yeah, and Zeus on a flank angle as well, looking to try and catch this Renekton, making his way forward. He's spotted on that control ward, and there we go. Perfect still going to get tagged with the Shuriken, and Faker comes down. Renekton is very much going to die. It's just whether or not KT can find anything as a result of it, and the answer is going to be maybe mid lane out of turret, and I think, okay, never mind. T1 able to get back here in time. So that means the KT get nothing.
Isaiah still had teleport too, so even pushing up into that mid turret was probably a little bit scary. You don't know what angle he could have. They weren't able to check everything, clear every ward necessarily. They didn't know. Maybe he's teleporting back in. We're about to die. We might lose the game right here, but they were at least able to try to chip away at this and get some control of the river back. Perfect has TP in 10 seconds.
Oh,
too late.
This dragon is still up and available. Faker is going to go golden, but there's the quickness. The bullet time is gigantic, though. And even Faker's sweep is going to work beautifully. Now Def, yes, he pressed the Feather Storm, but he comes down into hell once again. And T1 are going to wipe the map of KT. And Perfect, he just respawned. He's like, where did my friends go?
Well, you know, they'll be right behind him, running back to lanes. 7 kills down, 5,500 gold behind, and that's before this Baron goes over, because it's going. And I mean, you had a very slim chance of making that all of that engage work and that setup there without the Renekton, but you have to try something at KT. You're super far behind, but Faker bought that Seeker's Arm Guard. He had the extra eco with some of that extra plate gold to pick that up. Didn't finish his Leandries. Isn't that as interested in that, because he just knows that if he has enough money to buy the stopwatch, he will be safe in almost any scenario, and he is.
Pyosik moving towards his top side to try and at least guarantee that they get some of this bounty gold, but it's 6,000 gold, 7 almost for T1 at this point in time. Soul Point also, I feel like we're watching the last series. You know, this is kind of like the advantages that B&K were getting, where they were the ones picking up all of the neutral objectives, but also winning the fights, winning the map, taking the turrets. And this is the T1 that we grew to expect, that we haven't seen for the last couple of weeks. They are going to be able to break open the base here on the bottom side of the map. And I think that I don't see really a way back for KT unless there is some sort of miracle.
Yeah, I think BDD was maybe hoping for a crazy flank there, but no one's vulnerable.
Well, it's trying to throw some rocks on the ground and things like that. T1 not looking too worried about it. In a turret in the mid lane will be just sort of looked at momentarily, and that does go down. There is still an inner on the top side. Minion Wave in an awkward spot for T1. But this is still a pretty good Rebel Baron power play, sitting at 2.2k.
Blocked KT out. You need a flank. You don't have a strong Renekton to do so. He'll just get turned on. He doesn't have TP right now, and T1 just slowly grinding them out of the game.
Yeah, Seismic Shove is going to connect, and did we notice? Not really. That is a Keeper's Verdict, just to be channeled here by Ona for fun. And KT, I mean, the Baron is going to be wearing off in a couple of seconds. Then Carrier presses Magnet Storm, and there's a bullet time. And what does KT actually do to stop from melting?
And the other
especially when there's an Ocean Soul on top of it.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is that KT's comp requires you to be ahead. It requires you to be able to set up that chain CC. If you catch Guma even, which will never happen, but if you do, he's got barrier. He's going to be able to live long enough to where your other carry, Faker, your other hyper carry cannon that's about to have Death Cap, who also has an arm guard, will do the work anyway. So, like we were talking about in the draft, if you're even...
It takes free damage. As Beryl getting vision in. Being able to at least see that the Baron is going to be a problem. He wants to try and escape from the Steadfast presence, but that's getting a little bit difficult. The rest of T1, they're on the map, they're all here, they're ready to start off this Baron, and it is not going to last very long. KT, if they're going to do anything, they need to go in and try and fight this immediately, but Perfect was back home. There was no way for them to do anything about it.
So, I said it was going to take a miracle to maybe steal this Baron, take that one away, win the team fight here. I think it's going to take an incredible miracle to defend this Baron, and then look for an
BDD
elder.
was on that team.
Yeah, also, Hirai, the coach of KT ROLSTER, was the former coach of...
Hey!
Yeah, I was sitting on this one for a little while. I didn't know you were going to pick up on it so quickly. But
no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it is what it is. If you're an old League of Legends fan, you know. If you're an old StarCraft 2 fan, you know. But anyway, yeah, this one's looking doomed because T1 just siege, and if you try to flank them, you try to run at them, they press their R buttons together and you die. Good luck, KT ROLSTER.
Yeah, let's see whether they can make anything happen here as the next inhibitor turret is under fire. Ona able to just walk up, do whatever he wants. It is getting a little bit difficult here, as you can see Def finally taking a bit of damage. That is a seismic shove. They get a stun onto Carrier, who crashes out of there. Still, it's 50% health almost of a Rel. That's what they get for managing to find the angle. BDD, if he gets another one of these shoves, though, it could be an important moment here as quickness from Beryl. He looks for the angle. Owner just says no, presses W.
That was a little tricky way for him to try to do it, but Owner just is like, nah.
Yeah, the R for W trade is a rough one.
30 seconds before this Baron expires, the Elder will spawn. So T1, again, don't even have to get permanent damage done here. They would like to get an inhibitor and then just be able to kite back easily, but so far, pretty heroic defense from KT.
Yep, and now we've got Faker having to use that Zhonya's once again. Ona taking a lot of damages. There's the bullet time. That's going to get the doubles, and Zeus just cleans up the back line. Seismic Shove does nothing. Empress Divide does everything, and T1 will cleanly ace KT. They were very patient with that play, but this is going to be the last one of the game. Surgical from T1 here in game number 1, and some well-needed revenge for them in the telecom war.
Oh man, it just kind of, we kind of willed it into existence. You know, I was telling you guys, if they engage, T1 presses the R button. There are other answers to the Renekton.
I mean, one of them they banned in the first game, and it's now available.
Yeah, it just... I was with them on the Azir ban. The Kennen ban was, to me, a step too far. But let's see how this shakes out, because the Kennen, again, very quintessential to how that comp for T1 played out and made it so difficult for them to set up those dives. They may just kind of run the draft back with this adjustment. Sejuani is going to come through here this time around. The real big question is going to be, what is Faker playing? Corki is gone. Tristana is much weaker. He has not been our greatest Tristana player this season. They will just pivot to the Jace, which was the other champion that you were alluding to they banned in the previous game. Let's see if they'll be able to find that same punish with Sejuani Jace. Probably won't be as extreme as Pyosik.
Aha.
Going back to the Ivern.
All right, well, Ivan Lucian going to be locked in here. Faker, I kind of hope that he doesn't pick Tristana, which is up and available, but they also just have physical damage so far. That is a little bit of a wry grin on his face.
Yone, question mark? But it's so tough to play Yone Jace into Ivern brushes.
And also, like, Yone, Jace, Sejuani is so much physical damage towards the top side of the map that you'd be banking on the fact that T1 wouldn't... the T1 would be able to get their hands on a Ziggs or something like that. Greatest TV Max Wolf, you know, from yesterday.
The MF taken away, I think, is wise. This does leave up the Senna, though. And like the Kalista pick I mentioned before, it also unlocks Keria to play a lot of different things.
A good old Seraphine Leona, the classic.
What if it's Seraphine mid? I hope not.
I mean, I don't know where it's good. I mean, theoretically it could.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
the Sejuani Senna. for the Vi Talia as the final lock-in. That's actually pretty cool.
That's very T1. And I do think it is relatively risky, but they're going to do it anyway.
Oh, that's the lease in.
It's happening.
Oh, thank goodness. This is what I've been calling for. I don't know, like, it wouldn't have been better than the Poppy in the last game. Ona was absolutely incredible, and I ate my words on that one. However, it's just always fun watching Ona play this champion.
I think that the Ziggs, you know, the ban here is really smart, but I almost kind of looking at this, maybe the Ziggs would have been, it's hard to say. I look at the draft of KT and I go, well, Senna is going to take a long time before she can hurt these champions, and they're going to have a lot of shields, and then also she can't hurt them if she can't see them. If they lose map control, it's tough. The same
after a tough loss, it's jumping to the Rift for game number 2. All right, everyone extraordinarily loud, as per usual. Absolutely fantastic. Deft is going to be piloting the Seraphine. He's going to be conquering things there on the bottom side. I had a brief squiz at his solo queue record. And
a squiz?
A squiz. It's having a look.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Okay, I learned something.
You haven't heard squiz before?
No, I'll learn something else when you tell me what you saw in his...
Right. Zero. I saw no Seraphine at all. So this is hidden tech that he has been building alongside, maybe on a separate account, maybe just in scrims, or maybe he hasn't played it yet. I don't know.
It is known to be a high-skill champion.
I mean, you drop the beat and stuff, you know, and it's cool, and she does high notes.
I mean, when you consider the shields between Seraphine, Ivern, also trying to get into those brushes when the Seraphine ult's just going to be flying at you, and it is really scary to think about the potential of this composition. Kind of uncharted territory. As Renekton's not a traditional tank, but with all the shielding, he becomes better than a traditional tank. He also heals himself, so...
It's gonna come of it. And Ona coming down towards that bottom side. Let's see whether they can survive this, as Ona takes a fair bit of damage, but also dishes back a lot as well with that Tempest.
Yeah. BDD gets a bush. That's always the most annoying.
I know that there is something wrong. As Pioshik's going to come on over, I don't know whether he's going to be able to stop Ona here, but he at least gets information that it is happening. BDD on the recall means that's just not quite going to be a thing that they can contest. As Pioshik is going to come in and at least supervise. And yep, just presses a button, and Ona is going to ignore it.
He made his feet cold, and then he kept killing the frogs.
Well, Ona is going to look for him. Root Caller does come down, and there is the Weaver's Wall. Flash out from Pioshik, but Faker follows him immediately. Now BDD is going to turn up, and there's the culling. Ona still level 5, so doesn't have the kick, and meanwhile, Zeus and Perfect are fighting. The flash out, but the flash in. First blood for BDD, and Perfect follows up immediately. That's 3 kills, and is it going to be 3 games?
I mean, it's looking more likely after this moment. Don't count T1's chances out just yet, but I mean, it looked really silly for the first part of this, as Guma is hanging around looking for a potential steal.
Oh, that would be a pretty unfortunate steal, as that was a pretty early smite, I believe. And Gumayushi is going to turn up. And Daisy. These high notes are really hurting.
Yeah, KT is really winning everywhere. I mean, getting the advantage here bottom side as well. Some extra plate gold for the Seraphine. You can see the gold graph showing.
Yeah, Encore is going to come on through here as Ona turns up. Carrier almost dies, actually, before it even happens. As Beryl, he's under the turret, and he's going to die. That means the Deft is also really dead, but at least they get one. There's that. Shenanigans.
You know, it went over to the Leona, though. They lose a plate top, and yeah, that's why I said don't count T1 out for rain. It's like 17.
Yeah, and we need the percentage as well. Oh, as Faker is just dead. Yeah, there's the flash forward, gets the double tap, and BDD. Yeah.
You called him out of the game.
All right, Daisy's coming out, but Ona's coming in. And Perfect going to find the stun. They're still going to go for this one. There's the knockup. Thanks, Daisy. And out goes Ona. Let's see whether he can keep himself alive, though, because Daisy's still in amongst it. The Root Caller helping the Renekton get in. Another Zenith Blade. Where's the turret range? Where's Gumayushi's health bar? My goodness, the damage to come out from... That's just a lost chapter. What the heck? With the girls from our picture-in-picture before is another Encore going to come in as Carrier's going to get solar flared as well. There's a Zenith Blade from Carrier one more time. Sorry, from Beryl one more time as Faker is once again fighting BDD. This time the shove into the rocks is going to come on through. He's playing with fire here as Ona comes on over, but Pyosik in perfect position. Sonic Wave not going to find the mark. And now T1 trying to rotate more friends over here to try and help out the mid lane. There's the Weaver's Wall as BDD. He's got the Trigger Siege shield. He just turns around and kills Faker. There's the kick flash as Pyosik is going to flash to get back out once again as Ona. One more turret shot and he's going to die, but that's not going to come on through. And now Deft is going to need to turn up. There is going to be the kill onto Zeus. And now Perfect comes in at the same time. Gumayusi, oh dear. Let's see whether he can get himself out of this one. Perfect is going to have a slice and or dice coming up relatively soon. His flash is also only a couple of seconds away. The flash comes through from Gumayusi though. That is going to send them out of it.
Especially when there's a Leona to just kind of bully the cow, or pig rather. Poor. Yeah. He got there in the end, but
poor Bristle.
Owner is in trouble.
Oh, this is live. Okay, yeah, Daisy's going to get another knock-up as Perfect comes on in. That is going to be the kickback, and that should be enough to disengage. But he has to get the heck out of here. That is going to be a Hextech Drake to be taken here by KT. First Dragon in 12.5 minutes. Is a pretty late Dragon, but it's only, I guess, 12.5 minutes into the game. Feels like we've had a lot of stuff happen.
Yeah, BDD does have teleport. See if he wants to commit to trying to defend some plates here. Topside is taking the grubs here also by T1. Very greedy. It's going to take Iber a million years to get that dragon, but...
yeah, very true. All right, Perfect is just flashing forward. This guy is angry. And now Gumayusi completely out of mana, but did manage to throw down the Dawning Shadow at least. And should be able to walk this one off. So,
it's so greedy what T1 did there, and they get punished again.
I feel like we've had 2 games in a row where it's one team just trying to do too much when they're not allowed to, and it's happened now on both teams.
He may have overstepped.
Well, the minion wave is coming to him now, so there's no real reason for him to step too far. Not going to head towards the brush now, and is just going to look for a back angle. Ona biding his time, but for what is the question? As T1 they are going to be able to take this turret on the bottom side of the map, and that is first turret blood, I believe. Yeah, it is. So bit of an extra inroad of money.
Definitely a huge win for the somewhat starved fasting Senna here.
A little bit unfortunate that KT weren't able to actually patch that one up, because Rift Herald, I don't know whether it's worth it, as once again, I mean, the passive from Seraphine actually just
BDD
really doing a whole bunch of work. Is okay, in a dash away, there's the flash forward from Ona. He just had a feeling that that one was going to be waiting for him, and good patience.
Full prio on this dragon. They're even going to push down this turret now.
Yeah, and I think actually because they managed to stave off that gank, they're able to get this turret, or at least most of the turret,
most of it.
Immediately rewarded for BDD's defensive play. Now maybe immediately punished. Let's just see how this one's going to go as the teleport in. BDD looking for Gumayusi, has to flash. Double TPs means that now T1 find themselves a little bit late to their own party, and it's going to be the outer turret taken. KT now grouped up, ready to go for this dragon as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd be starting that dragon if I were you, Guma. I think KT are taking control.
Oh, perfect. He wants more. Strybreaker going to come on through there as he's doing a lot of damage. And this Renekton, way less anemic than the other one.
Yeah, he's been fed. This is going to be a TP top for Zeus. They're going to try to push mid at the same time.
There's the flash forward as Faker's going to get interrupted. No riding on the wall for you, sir. And the Solar Flare is going to find the sweet spot. That is an interruption, but BDD is just going to zap him down. And Faker finds himself 0 and 4, unfortunately. And KT, they're going to put Perfect in the bottom lane. He's going to take down that inner turret. And it's just like they took off the clothes from the last game and replaced them.
T1 is basically trying to do so much here. They're not okay. It should still be the turret.
Yeah, you can keep talking about the other thing.
I feel like the KT are just not going to fall prey to T1 being like, I guess I'm not going to let them have anything. BDD?
Yeah, he's going to be in a whole host of trouble. The Dawning Shadow is even going to help out, and the turret loses interest in stopping T1 here. So KT will be able to answer with a dragon.
They finally got him.
Yeah. Infernal Soul as well this game. That's an exciting one.
This dragon, I feel like, might be one of the highest value single drakes we have.
The more they can group up and utilize the Ivern and the shields, the more value they're going to get. As Beryl could find himself in a rough spot, but he's going in. There's a turret. He has a Zenith Blade, and he's getting under there, and he's surviving, for goodness sake. That was way too long to be alive, as now Deft will finally turn up. Speeds himself through here. Perfect is now going to find his entrance way, but KT have already lost one. Seismic Shove is going to knock back the Renekton, and he could be the next little pickup here as they take down the turret. Perfect is going to be alive. He's much less squishy than he was in game number 1. Has another Seismic Shove. This time, he is definitely dead. The Encore! And Deft is able to help take down Ona. Gumayusi follows immediately as Deft... I mean, the Seraphine is doing ridiculous work. He does die. T1 win the fight. But I'm still very impressed.
Very involved in this one. In this jungle that supposedly belongs to KT, but the toggle here is showing a different story.
Yeah. Tribrush Ward is going to be important, but you can see Ona looking for an opportunity. I don't think he's going to be able to steal away this Drake. That is going to be the sole point picked up by KT. Now, the Weaver's Wall comes in. Glacial Prison is used. And KT are going to take the Drake and then look for a flash play onto Ona. That is a miss, though, unfortunately. There is now Perfect looks for the pickoff, and Senna is just dead. Seismic Shove used defensively. That is decent peel, but now the culling comes in. The Redemption layered on top. The teleport flank angle, and there is the Encore. Zeus going to be taken out. Deft is answered, though. Carrier going down very low, and KT, they still have their 80 carry because it's BDD.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of like accidental funnolution, okay? Yeah. All the gold.
Oh my goodness, it finally worked.
He's got double shields. It was never really built like this. It was just a secondary support, but in this game you get the shield value, and the AP ratio on that is pretty good, and you have the Ivern as well, so it's just kind of crazy what this Lucian is able to do as well.
Throughout the entirety of this series. Now, able to get on in here. That Seismic Shove not really going to find too much there, as Faker's just going to have to back off to the next line of defense.
Zeus is heading home, but they need a defense, and they need it now.
Yeah, they've got so much poke as they're sieging out these turrets as well. As now KT wary of the fact that there could be a bit of a flank angle here. They can't see the Jace on the minimap. BDD is rotating in. Ona still looking for that angle, and Perfect, he's just prepping this bottom wave.
Yeah, if BDD gets picked for any reason, I feel like KT cannot win the fight, but he's just been so careful this game. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. And he just understands that he is the one that has the target on his back. And he's going to play around it as best he can. Q going to connect there onto Pioshik. He's just going to back off. Big shield eruption there with the Shock Blast. And Perfect just wants to find that blast cone in. The Infernal Rift certainly helping out there as far as giving Renekton some engage angles.
It's just no great angle here for anyone to teleport to. It's a Jace, you know?
Oh god, okay, BDD dashing forward this time is going to get out of the way of the Seismic Shove yet again. I mean, hitting the Lucian with that is just obscenely hard. It is so difficult.
KT just kind of prio their way through this mid lane.
Shield, the reapplication of the Trigger Siege shield, and then, like, it's just kind of ridiculous.
T1,
but T1, yeah, looking for this one. Deft realizing that that wall is in a rough position. Let's see whether they can keep themselves alive. Is Perfect? You are just dead, my friend. The rest of your team were not there.
That was a disaster. And then just go chase a Sejuani. Just put up the brushes. Use your setup.
Ona now just going to be chased out by Beryl. There's a Weaver's Wall as Beryl's getting amongst it, going to stun him up here as the high note is so good. Solar Flare going to connect onto Ona as well. Remember, he does have a GA, so he can keep himself alive for a lot longer.
What if you were a champion with CC, shields, a little bit of healing, and also a bunch of damage?
Yeah.
Would you be Seraphine? I think you would be in this game.
Huh, yeah.
It's actually crazy. All right, now they're going to start the Baron. T1 all around them.
Yeah, there's a Seismic Shove going to connect onto Perfect. Down to 50%. The Shock Blast is not going to land as Ona. Can he be the hero? He gets it. He steals it. And he is going to go down to the GA. Can they get themselves out alive, though? That's the question. Even Ona is able to survive, but Gumayushi's dead. The Jace is dead as well. There is not a lot of damage left in this composition. And the kick out onto Pioshik there. Deft is probably going to have the damage if he can actually land a few of these buttons. The smite comes in, and there it goes. Surround sound means that he's just never going to be able to touch the Seraphine, and even though the Baron was picked up here by T1, it's likely that KT can still do some big damage to this base.
I mean, Zeus, he did kill a lot of shields in that fight, but otherwise not able to do a whole lot. Faker alone to defend is going to be so difficult. Guma not really an 80 carry here. They have Baron buff minions.
Oh, another Solar Flare. That really nailed the minion as Faker's going to go gold, and Seismic Shove connected in the meantime. That looked pretty good, but Faker is still dead. And Daisy, she's just wandering around. Carrier going the wrong direction, throws an ulti to Narnia, and He will be taken down. It's BDD collecting his 8th of the game as Gumayushi slinks into the mist, but he might want to stay there as this game is over. KT roaring back into the series. It would not be a telecom war without 3 games. And I'm so glad that KT are able to turn it around and give us 3 in this one.
T1 specific, and that is what they're going to do. They might just leave us with that first pick Corki for T1, or they can go the Sejuani/Vi route here, play Vi Talia. But, you know, you have so much power in this first pick. That's why you chose blue side.
Yeah.
What are they going to go for? I mean, the Corki is what the meta slave does in this situation, right? And when T1 have followed the meta this season, it has not been as successful as when they follow the heart of T1, what the announcer earlier called a traditional T1 style, like what we saw in Game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the Corki is not quite as bad as far as like Faker's recent champion pool, right? Like, the Tristana really has been the one that people have been umming and ahhing about. I think the Corki is something that Faker has played very well for quite some time, even though not necessarily finding as much success with it. That's a blind Jace. Huh? All right, we're just going to do it again. This time with a Jace.
When the Jace is the one with the brushes, and he could sit in the brush and fire freely, it feels a lot better than firing into brushes without map control. So while Jace is somewhat risky as a blind pick, you know, Zeus is not known for his Malphite response. I don't know what he's going to play into this one. He might just pick a ranged champion once again.
I mean, the space already indicated it. I think it should be Brand. Nidalee, I don't think does the same thing.
Oh, you literally can't get value from spears because Pyosik will just press the shield before it hits every time.
I mean, this is still, like, don't get me wrong, in the early game, if you play the Nidalee really effectively, you can just get in there and kill the Ivern and stuff like that, but even then, like, it's difficult. The guy just can, like, press the root caller button and then you sort of stay still for a while.
You need to have a matchup for this Corki and for your top lane where you feel like you have enough control so that Nidalee can actually be proactive early. Cassante into Jace is definitely one where you can kind of weather the storm, but it is not going to be, or it shouldn't be, the Cassante taking topside prio. Corki was also blind. We'll see what BDD's response is going to be here.
Has BDD been practicing the Zeri? Because they could theoretically go for a mid-Zeri angle. There's quite a few...
mid Jace and top Mordekaiser. That's the answer.
Okay.
You know what? I was thinking about this right before the hover came through. I was like, you know what? I guess it's Jace mid because there's not really not a lot of you know, 80 champions that are left here you could play mid that you'd feel okay into the Corkias. The Jace is definitely one of them.
I seem to remember a game where there was a guy called 369 and he played Mordekaiser, and it was in a draft that was similar to this, and it was terrifying.
Yes.
We'll see whether Perfect can have a similar sort of performance, because Mordekaiser in the LPL, Mordekaiser in the LCK, very, very different. LPL Mordekaisers are just extremely good. We haven't found the same handle on it. I think Keen is the only one that's kind of got close, but we haven't found the success for the Mord so far here in the LCK. So let's see what Perfect can actually do. As Senna going to be banned away, and there is the Leona ban as well. I was going to say more Shadow Isles vibes, but Mordekaiser is Noxus, so I'm a bit silly.
This is the first time Kalista was left up by KT, and then it gets banned by T1, and it looked like they had a great angle to actually play Kalista here into the draft, and T1 are able to read that and take it away, so it's a tough call here. Zeri feels very good with all of the shielding that she will be able to receive here. And then they can save counter pick for support. So if it's not a threatening lane like a Caitlyn lane here for Guma Keria, then perhaps you end up playing the Lulu and then you have even more shielding to come through. But it will likely be based on what comes through here, because Caitlyn feels like it's probably the best bet to try to get some prio there bottom side. Maybe the Nidalee can play through this a little bit. Otherwise, you know, if you're really going for like a Draven Renata, you're going all in, you could do something like that. But the Caitlyn just seems pretty obvious here.
Yeah, a bit of pushing power. Let's see whether they stick to as much lane pressure as possible. Yeah, there it is. The Lux is going to come in. This means that T1 have 0 range. There is, sorry, 0 engage. There is no way for them to really start a fight outside of just try and poke them. Yeah. You know? And Cassante flanks are certainly going to be the way, but T1 needs to control the neutral. They need to be able to land this poke and stop KT from doing what they want to do.
It's 100% a lane pick to grab this Lux, but
Yeah.
it feels so terrible later on. I mean, also, like, she could use the singularity to see in the bushes. I guess that's
true.
Yeah,
There we go.
That's kind of a positive. There's not really much counterplay to that from KT ROLSTER, but
I thought you left all of your optimism in the last game, but you've got the optimism out for T1 here as well with this draft. And I don't mind it. Like, this is a poke comp, right? We've seen these work in the past. Frontline of just a Cassante is a little bit of a worry.
yeah, especially if this Jace can find any sort of angle, because normally when you're playing into Jace with a Cassante, you can stand in front of the Jace and make it
Once again, it's the Ivan for Pyosik. See how he goes as we jump into the Rift for Game 3. I feel like the T1 fan chants are extraordinarily loud, but you can hear the emotion and the desperation from KT fans every time, and it's fantastic. As BDD, he has played this Jace in the past quite a few times, actually. I think, you know, him and Showmaker, two examples of players that really do like it. Chovy as well, as far as, like, just dominating lane with this mid Jace, often large CS gaps and things like that. We'll see how it does into the Corki here. Faker taking the fleet footwork just to try and make sure that he is as comfortable in this lane as possible.
I do really feel like the Jace spikes a little bit faster and a little bit harder than the Corki in some of those early skirmishes. You know, not necessarily at Grubs, but like first Herald, sometimes the first and second Dragon, you do end up getting a ton of value out of his burst damage. And BDD has been so good at not only laning on this pick, but winning big fights early for his squad. And the all-in power is there to the skies, coming in and just blowing up a single target. And if, you know, Zeus isn't there, for example, on a Dragon fight, there is no real front line here. And Faker can offer a lot of damage back with the Gatling gun. Remember, this is nerfed Corki.
Deft, I don't know whether you...
A bit of prio in mid.
Well, Pyosik going to come on over. Let's see what they can actually get done here. The flash has to be burnt. Faker going to get himself out of there as now T1. Let's see whether they can actually kill Beryl, who's going to flash the Q. That's nicely done. Spear going to connect there onto Deft. And already, we're seeing the power of this bottom lane. And
it's very strong, yeah.
This is something that, oh my goodness, okay. That's another one. As somehow, Beryl's going to be able to weave in the hook, but still, even as the hook is connecting, there is more poke.
There's that power trough as BDD.
Whoa, he's just flashing in, looking for Faker here. Can he find the autos? And there's the last one. Picks it up, doesn't die to the turret. Thank you very much, Pyosik, for the help, but that is first blood going to KT.
And he went electrocute this game. It's very powerful, very classic old school, but like I said, the burst and the potential of the early game picks is quite high, as now they're going to try to trade something back here in bottom.
Yeah, KT like, oh, not again. Why does this have to happen? As you can see, even in the mid lane, they're just going for a little bit of a reset. But T1 with full control of this bottom side of the map. Spear going to miss for now. And by the way, we are very, very close to 4,000 assists for BDD as well. Just need one more, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, he got the kill.
Be happy if you're a KT fan.
No. It's 18 to 50. It's kind of absurd. Ona going to move in, look for the spear onto BDD. Is Pyosik going to need to shield him? BDD just able to get the kill. Still, it's answered this time as the jungle is now facing off. Pyosik without too much firepower. And Deft continuing to get zoned. So yeah, I mean, BDD did have that kill. There's a hook onto Carrier there at the same time as Beryl just desperately trying to do anything that he can. But he is now the one burning down. Deft trying to get anything done as that's a last auto. And that is a dead Beryl in the 2v2. And T1 just demonstrating that this bottom lane, they still got it.
I mean, his best to try to get any sort of space here for Deft, but is unfortunately for him unsuccessful. Good spacing there from Guma on the follow-up autos. Takes Beryl out. Deft left alone here. At least he's the one who survives. At least maybe he can get some of that critical farm. Now, BDD picked up a second kill here in mid. It's not an assist, but it is big gold for him, so definitely a trade up immediately from killing him.
Yeah, BDD is human after all. And here on the bottom side of the map, yeah, Deft and Beryl continuing to have just a terrible time.
Yeah, and, I mean, okay.
Oh, speaking of terrible times, to the skies is Faker. Yeah, hands off keyboard here.
It's okay, they've got a backup AD carry in mid.
A lot of enemies coming. Ona taking a fair bit of damage here at the same time as Daisy getting amongst it.
And Deft, I mean, he is still massively behind, but what T1 have been able to gain from this is a pretty substantial amount of gold for their bottom lane, and they're trying to actually wipe this turret out. Looks like they will be successful on this wave, although the Iron Brush makes this very frustrating, so maybe not quite.
Yeah. Oh god, all of the poke coming in. One more auto would have done it. There's a trap in the brush. Man, the brushes are actually making it more frustrating for KT, and they're being built by their jungler.
Yeah, this is really annoying to deal with, but they are keeping this turret alive for now.
I don't know whether this turret is really worth trying to save because there are 3 members of T1 down here. And the extender beam not really going to help out there as, okay, Root Collar does come on through. Kamushi is going to get the heal though from the Primal Surge. And they try to do their best to take down the cannon, but that is not going to work.
So how well Caitlyn can utilize this gold is going to be the real question, because 40 CS down.
Just unfazed.
No, he doesn't care.
Not even a little bit. BDD going to turn up. Ona is able to secure that 1 grub. And so that is 2 apiece here. KT looking to try and lock down their 3rd. And, oh, I thought that spear was actually going to be able to pick that one up. But good smite there from Gyoshik.
You can see T1 just aren't confident to fight this right now. They don't have any vision.
Oh, okay. Life Binding does come on in. Peacemaker down as well as he's just dead. The final spark is going to be exactly that. And Beryl, this is the power of the poke composition being bared down right on top of him.
Really good punish there from T1, but KT still get the grubs, and the fact that they were able to control most of that fight until that binding landed gives you a little bit of hope that maybe they can pull something together here. Good flash from BDD. And we're starting part 2, this time on the Herald, but this time T1 a lot more control than they had the last.
Yep, Ace and Hole going to come on through as there is the depth charge onto the Nidalee. He's burning, but so's Beryl, and there's Faker picking up his first kill. T1 now with a big advantage, but not necessarily in the health bars. Still, the Rift Herald should be secured here. And T1 just making this win lane, win game composition work for them.
And the final spark was massive there as well, ripping through those health bars, making it so that there was no way KT could try to follow up and punish those low health bar champions on the side of T1. And that's the Herald going over. And T1's lead is just becoming so big at this point. Sure, it was a big ultimate from Deft, and yes, he has high damage output, but Guma's got an IE. They have a relatively farmed Lux as well. Does have Zazax in the inventory and completed, so that's some extra burst damage as well.
Yeah, Shirelli is coming in relatively soon as there's some redemption damage, and the flash forward from Beryl. Gumayushi, he does not have his flash available. Root Collar comes down, there's the hook. BDD's like, give me my 4th, and he'll be able to pick that one up. Deft, a little bit sad that he doesn't get the kill. It would be pretty good for KT
to be able to get it done against all the Fed members of T1, but he's trying.
I think Griffin actually tried that one too.
Oh,
back in the day. It also definitely didn't work. But look, it's just, you know, sometimes finally it needs to get some redemption. As here in the mid lane, some plants go up, and so does Daisy, and Beryl, he's on the prowl once again. Gumayushi gonna be in trouble here as Perfect is just going to put him into the death realm. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is die. And then a whole bunch of stats now go over to this Mordekaiser. Hooks connecting, but the final spark is just going to end them. The all-out comes through from Zeus, and now the flash forward Deft smells blood in the water and wants to get some sort of kill here as Zeus getting himself out. BDD presses W, but I don't know whether they're going to be able to quite find it as finally the kill comes in. The answer's there from KT. The kills are even. It's a bloodbath, but I don't even necessarily know who's in the best position to win.
I mean, when you look at how these fights have been going, it's like Keria is doing the most damage.
Yeah.
Uma's doing a little bit, right? And this time just ulted out.
As this game goes on.
Look at this gold here in turrets. 3,000 nearly for T1. All in that turret. In the bottom lane and the plates, of course, top side. Then they got the turret mid.
It does mean this before just the Zeal. Alright, Binding going to not necessarily find the target as Keria just explodes. Beryl's going to be traded. But now BDD, he's on the prowl. The all-out angle is going to be there for Zeus, and he drags the Jace into the team. Gorgeously played from the man in the top lane, and that is going to give T1 the edge.
Perfect ult from Zeus, the angle through the edge of the Baron pit. He gets the perfect diagonal there, and T1 back in the fight because now KT without the Jace cannot continue.
Try and answer. that it can be quite difficult as they are doing the dragon. It's very easy to do dragon when there's actually no one around.
Infernal again.
And that's a high value one. So 2 Drakes going over to T1 as Final Spark going to be thrown towards Perfect. They want to be able to get this bounty gold for taking down the turret. There's the ace in the hole, and Def takes half of his health bar.
Trying to set up an engage or a pick is so challenging.
Oh, Carrier going to be able to find a bit of a combo. There's the spear to land as well. Beryl is just dead. They find the pick, they set up the vision, and they're going to look for a Baron off the back end of it.
Area has been so essential in finding these bindings to actually punish this aggressive positioning from Beryl.
Well, there is going to be vision going into this Baron pit. Pioshik does have his flash available. Can he be the hero is the question. The answer is no. Zeus just said, get out of here. The Baron's going to be secured. Daisy's going to be taken down first. Pioshik is destroyed. And T1 just snowballed the fight so beautifully. Yes, Perfect is able to kill a Lux, but I think Carrier did his job this game. Faker going to be able to lock down that kill. It's now 12-8. The gold lead is skyrocketing.
And it's going to get even worse. He goes in on this Cassante, but there's so much follow-up damage from Guma. It looks like Zeus is actually two-shotting him, but it's Guma over the wall, just popping him. And yes, Perfect does get the flank and takes Carrier out, but his sacrifice was legendary, and it's probably what's going to win T1 this telecom war.
Yep. Hook is going to miss here as T1 are just going to bear down on this inhibitor. Zeus says thanks for the gap closed as Perfect's going to pull him in. That is Beryl dead for the 7th time this game. And KT just looking like there is absolutely nothing that they can do. We praised them for the draft, but things went so wrong in the early game. There was no way for them to utilize it in any way, shape, or form. Nexus turret's going down. T1 going to get some revenge against KT. They're going to move to 4th place in the LCK, and they're going to send KT to 7th with a victory here. Deft is trying to kite his way out of this one, but he's not going to be able to. He wanted to kite his way out of the early game. This is the way that he gets out of it, and it's by a defeat at the hands of T1. They're going to be able to take this one here in the telecom war today.